Hey everyone, this is George. I'm back with a new video, and I am honestly super surprised that Shazam got a big screen adaptation. I honestly never thought that Captain Shazam or Shazam would ever actually get his own film. There was a lot of reasons for that, but that's not the purpose of this video. So I'm excited because he got his film, and everything that I've been hearing has been really positive. So I'm going to see it also, and I'm looking forward to it. But it got me thinking, if Shazam can get his own movie, aka Captain Marvel, what other obscure characters could get the same big screen treatment as Captain Marvel? Which characters should get that treatment? So I've come up with my top 5 list of obscure characters and teams who could or even should get the DC film treatment next. Number 5 on my list is the Legion of Superheroes. For me, the Legion of Superheroes is the greatest DC Comics property that never was. They're exactly what they sound like, a huge collection of the universe's greatest heroes from the future, the 30th century to be exact. They even have members-only rings. Yes, there was a time this group was popular, but with canceled comic book series after canceled comic book series since the 1990s through today, the Legion just has not found a new audience, and I think that's terrible because the Legion of Superheroes is such a great property. I think it's so great, in fact, that I think DC should give it the big screen treatment. This might sound a little weird, but to me, I think the Legion of Superheroes could be the X-Men of the DC universe. Well, you might be saying, wouldn't they be the Justice League or even the Avengers, or that the Teen Titans are the equivalent of the X-Men in DC? And to this I say you're right. But the way I remember the Legion, there was a huge group of heroes with vastly different power sets who more often than not butted heads with each other than with their enemies. And every individual hero had problems that I think made them relatable in a way that really reminded me of the X-Men. Why this is important is because, well, there's so much untapped potential there. Not only are the heroes interesting and engaging, but the threats are galactic in scale and oftentimes more powerful than the heroes' combined efforts. We also have the visual technology to pull off the vast and varied environments these heroes regularly travel to, as well as their many unique abilities. I personally believe the time is right for the Legion of Superheroes, so hopefully DC sees their potential and starts working on film treatments for these incredible heroes. I would personally love to see the Legion Lost story adapted for the big screen. My personal choice for the team of Legion heroes would be Karate Kid, Mon-El, Block, Pharaoh Lad, Shadow Lass, Timberwolf, Lightning Lad, Brainiac 5, and Matter Eater Lad. Just kidding, actually Saturn Girl deserves that spot. Number 4 on my list is Lobo. Of all the DC properties out there that could get film adaptations, Lobo was definitely not a character who I thought would ever get a big screen treatment. That all actually changed when Jason Momoa, aka Aquaman, stated he wanted Lobo in Aquaman 2. For those not familiar, Lobo is a character who walks a fine line between anti-hero and just straight up villain. The main man, as he often calls himself, is a bounty hunter and the last survivor of an alien race that he actually wiped out himself. Even though he looks like a grungy space biker dude, don't let his looks deceive you. He actually has strength that rivals Superman's and a healing factor that would put Wolverine's to shame. He's incredibly violent and will kill for as little as someone annoying him. But he does have a soft spot for his fishies, aka the space dolphins. All of the insanity that is Lobo doesn't exactly say family-friendly adventures, more like DC biker Deadpool. The potential is definitely there for some zany action-filled stories, but again, Lobo is Deadpool on steroids, and his level of violence makes Deadpool seem tame. Fox was willing to give Deadpool the R-rated treatment he deserved, but I don't see DC Warner being bold enough to give us an R-rated Lobo. At best, we're probably going to get PG-13 Lobo, which can work. Anyone who's seen his appearances in Superman the Animated Series and Justice League will know a toned-down Lobo can actually work. So you can strap into your Space Hog, because if Lobo gets the big screen treatment, then you can be sure the audience is going for a Lobo-centric ride we will not forget. space fishies included. Number 3 on my list is Deadman. So this spot would have belonged to Deathstroke, but I actually no longer consider Deathstroke an obscure character, seeing as how he's up and featured prominently in video games, cartoons, even live action Justice League movies, and even headlines his own comic book title on a normal basis. So yeah, he's not really obscure to me anymore. With that being said, Deadman is an incredibly interesting concept that could have exciting dramatic pull if done right. When I think of Deadman, I somehow think of Quantum Leap, where Scott Bakula's character Dr. Beckett finds his consciousness leaping through space-time, correcting problems in the timeline by inhabiting the bodies of individuals of critical importance. Deadman isn't unlike that, but instead he's a dead guy who has the ability to jump from body to body, and if he chooses to, he can take control of the individual, essentially piloting them, except Batman. Nobody pilots Batman. After circus trapeze artist Boston Brand, whose stage name was the Deadman, was murdered, he was gifted with the ability to inhabit bodies in his quest to obtain justice for his own death. I think there's a lot of potential for humor as well as darker DC storylines with Deadman. While I don't think he will ever be a household name, even with a feature film, his character and power set are undeniably interesting and could provide DC with a unique visual spectacle on the big screen. Number 2 on my list is Zatanna. We have another character with supernatural background on our list. Dr. Fate very nearly had this spot, but I chose Zatanna because of her deep relationships with so many other DC heroes across the DC universe, especially Batman. Zatanna is a nearly unrivaled sorceress with a vast array of supernatural powers that she invokes by saying spells backwards. She's a clever and fun-loving woman. By night, she's a wildly popular illusionist and stage magician, and by day and night, she is a defender of the mortal world from supernatural threats. Why I think Zatanna deserves a film: 1, there is a ton of potential for sweeping supernatural battles. 2, she is incredibly talented. She's actually so talented, in fact, that she tries to avoid using actual magic in her performances and prefers to rely only on her skills, which she's honed without magical enhancements. Zatanna is a complex character too. She's fun-loving, but there's more to Zatanna than her charm and bravado, and she's genuinely a good person who's a one-of-a-kind hero. I think a really interesting take on a Zatanna movie would focus on her mystique and would leave the audience questioning whether she is using her powers or if she is so incredibly skilled that it only looks like she's using her powers. If there's a villain who can match her powers, well, that would be great. But why not have her face off against other supernatural heroes? Say, for instance, John Constantine or even Swamp Thing, who may have been put under some sort of evil influence. There is honestly a lot that can be done with the character, and I would love to see this character get the notoriety she deserves. And so before I get to the number 1 spot, let me go ahead and go over some of the honorable mentions. Honorable mentions include Etrigan the Demon, Blue Beetle, that's both Ted Kord and Jamie Reyes, Lex Luthor, Starman, Power Girl, Booster Gold, Deadshot, and Dr. Fate. The number 1 spot goes to Mr. Miracle. The best way I can describe Mr. Miracle is that he is simply the greatest escape artist of all time. Think Harry Houdini if he had super abilities and could escape from anything. And you have the basic idea of Mr. Miracle. As awesome as that sounds, Mr. Miracle definitely flies under the radar when it comes to popularity in the DC universe. Despite having nearly a rabid fan base, Mr. Miracle is also a hero whose comic book series are regularly canceled and who usually makes single episode cartoon appearances and has yet to make it into the Arrowverse. For those not familiar, Mr. Miracle, aka Scott Free, is the son of a godlike ruler named Allfather, who was exchanged at birth with a child of a powerful dark god named Darkseid to be raised as his son on the hell planet Apocalypse. Except rather than raising the boy, Darkseid and his underling Granny Goodness would spend their time torturing the boy, trying to break his spirit, but they never could, and eventually Scott Free escapes from Apocalypse. I honestly believe Mr. Miracle is ready for prime time. Can you imagine how exciting this film would be if done right, and the filmmakers really home in on crafting thrilling set pieces that showcase the unrivaled escape skills of Scott Free? While CGI allows for filmmakers to do some incredible things, and I think everyone would honestly expect this, but I personally would love to see a practical effects driven film. Mr. Miracle also has a great supporting cast such as his wife Big Barda and friend Oberon. And of all the characters I mentioned on this list, I would be most excited to see Mr. Miracle's supporting cast on the big screen. Not to mention, this would be a great way to introduce Kirby's new gods into the DCEU. I think the best way this film goes down is an origin story where Free is forced to go back to his adoptive home of Apocalypse and escape a prison that Granny Goodness and Darkseid specifically made for Free to be inescapable. There's a lot of emotional and visual appeal for a story like this, and if done right, there's no reason Mr. Miracle could not reach heights of popularity similar to the big three, aka Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to know what kind of obscure DC characters do you think deserve the big screen treatment just like Shazam. And I hope you all go out and see Shazam. I've heard so many great things. I can't wait to see it myself. And let's give DCEU some support, especially since they're heading in the right direction. So you can let me know in the comments section, who do you want to see next? And if you like this sort of video, maybe think about subscribing. I make all kinds of comic book related content, and so feel free to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you like the video, leave a like, and if you feel like commenting, I'd love to chat with you in the comments section. But I'm really grateful you took the time to watch, so thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.